So there seems to be a dangerous misconception making the rounds on the internet lately. And it's this idea that an ex or a guy who blocks you actually loves you, as if they're just playing some weird reverse psychology trick on you. Well, today, I'd actually like to peel back the layers on this onion and take an in-depth look at what's really going on with a guy when he blocks you. So I'd actually like to divide this discussion up into three distinct parts. First, simply answering the question on if a man blocking you actually means he loves you. Second, the important role avoidant behavior plays into blocking. And third, why the mere act of obsessing about this is setting you back. So let's dive right in. So does him blocking you actually mean he loves you? So my team and I have been studying breakups for literally close to 10 years now. I believe we started in 2012. So it's pretty safe to say that we've seen a lot of situations. Now, obviously, the art of the block is one of the most feared outcomes for our clients. So where exactly did this phenomenon of thinking a guy who blocks you actually meaning he loves you come from? Well, here's sort of the trajectory I've seen with most of my clients. So your ex blocks you. Psychological reactance takes hold of you, causing you to grow a bit desperate. You hyper-focus on good moments of the relationship, specifically where he tells you he loves you. You do some research and see that all the experts suggest that the opposite of love isn't anger, it's indifference. And it's actually that last statement where things get interesting, because technically, an ex blocking you is them taking an action that enables them to be indifferent towards you going forward. But no one really views blocking as an indifferent action anymore. It's viewed as an angry one. And that leads us to this carrot, the one that says that an ex angrily blocking you actually means they love you. Now, I don't necessarily agree with this statement. I think it's a stretch based on a flawed premise. The reason most people block, I believe, is due to an avoidant trigger they may have, not because they love you. So last year, I wrote and filmed a lot on the topic of avoidance. In fact, I personally believe that the first thing everyone who's new to my program or new to my website should be going through a crash course on avoidant behavior. Why? Well, maybe the fact that most of our clients say that their exes are avoidant is a big reason. Close to 75% of our clients believe that their ex is avoidant. And here's what we know about avoidance. Each avoidant has the same exact core wound: a deep fear of losing their independence. And each avoidant experiences some variation of the following circular pattern, if you will. So they want someone to love them. They find you, they believe their troubles are over. They notice some worrying things about you. This causes them to think of leaving. They actually leave. They are happy that they left. They start to feel lonely. They wonder why this always happens to them, and then they repeat again and again and again from relationship to relationship to relationship. And it all kind of stems, and if you look closely at this list, you'll notice things start to turn on the avoidant right around stage 7, where they start to feel kind of lonely. And we see this play out all the time in actual situations where our own clients have been blocked by an avoidant. One of the things you'll constantly hear me say is that the best way to get unblocked is to simply do nothing. Just live your life. Let the avoidant go through the death wheel above. Eventually, stage 7 will hit and they'll unblock you, right? Sounds too good to be true. Well, believe it or not, if you're listening to this or watching this on YouTube, I'm going to actually put up a graphic that is from a poll I conducted last year, where 68% of people who I asked, for those of you who have been in a situation where your ex blocked you, did they at one point unblock you? And they answered, yes, they did. So close to 70% of participants admitted that their exes unblocked them. And this is where that assumption of them still being in love with you comes into play. But I wouldn't call it love. Not yet, at least. More than anything, this just solidifies that an avoidant is a slave to their avoidant programming. But you aren't fully interested in that, are you? No, what you really want is the secret sauce on how to get a long-term commitment, how to get a guy or lover to fall in love with you and propose. Now, I've been thinking about this a lot, and in my opinion, it all boils down to one thing. Most of the women I've coached obsess about the wrong things. Now, this isn't an indictment of women in general. In fact, I think most women in the dating world actually have the right way of looking at things. But most of the women that I interact with, that frequent my website, that frequent my YouTube channel, that listen to my podcast, by their own admission, have anxious attachment tendencies. And one of the classifying markers of someone with this type of attachment style is the following core wound. They're terrified of being abandoned. And as you might have guessed, having an ex block you is something that directly triggers that core wound for an anxious attachment style individual. And this leads most of my clients down what I consider to be a dangerous path, one fraught with desperation, begging, obsession. Now, we've all seen sort of the crazy funny memes online of the ex-girlfriend who went crazy after a breakup, blowing her ex's phone up. More than likely, this crazy person, though, isn't really crazy. It's just that their anxious attachment got triggered and they're reacting the only way they know how. They want to fix things. They want to turn over every stone to do it. But I'm getting a bit off topic. I'd actually like to turn my attention to a statement I made earlier. Now, I argue that the best way to get unblocked by an ex is to actually do nothing at all. Simply wait and trust that the avoidant attachment death wheel will sort of do its work for you. That went on to show you internal research that basically backed my point up. But I was being a little bit heavy-handed, if I'm being honest. I was leaving out half the equation. So when someone enters my orbit and is serious about ex recovery, the one thing I'm very adamant about doing is ensuring that they reorient their world. And one of the analogies that I've often used is the solar system analogy. And a huge pitfall I've noticed women fall into when they've been blocked is that their entire world sort of revolves around the person that blocked them, much like the planets orbiting a sun. Your entire life revolves around an ex. Or more to the point, I know my ex loves me, so how can I get my ex to unblock me? And this becomes an unhealthy obsession. But I've already established that I don't think your ex loves you if he blocks you. Besides, in most cases, what can cause an ex to block you is if they see that your solar system revolves around them. Perhaps it's flattering to them at first. I won't deny I'd kind of like it a little bit at first, but over time, you sort of lose respect for that person. It's the classic case of a man getting everything he wished for in a woman and then taking it for granted. It also has a bit to do with the pedestal effect concept I've talked about in videos before. We always want to be dating someone above our weight class, someone who we can hold on a pedestal. Though situations like that tend to be incredibly rare, so most of us are just happy to be dating someone equal to us. But what we don't want almost universally is someone that we think we are better than. Because someone that we think we are better than, we think we can do better than, if that makes sense. So someone like that, they lose value in that specific circumstance. Now, what men really want is a woman who they admire, a woman with her own solar system, one that doesn't revolve around the ex, but one in which maybe the ex is a part of the solar system, but he is revolving around her. But how do you get your own solar system? Well, I think it actually starts in the most unlikely of places. It starts with your ability to live for more than your ex. It starts with you becoming someone to be admired. And this is where I think I lose most people because they think I'm saying that they're not good enough the way they are currently. And that's simply not true. Being someone admired simply means you're accomplishing or you're attempting to accomplish your Trinity goals. Now, my concept of the Holy Trinity has gone viral because it's a concept that really works. So essentially what you're doing is you're dividing your life into 3 distinct parts: health, wealth, and relationships. Now, originally in 2013, when I thought up the concept, I made it all about balancing the 3 areas. I talked about their interconnectedness and how when one goes up, the others can go up, or how when one goes down, the others can go down. And that's all still true, but I'm not sure that's helpful for most people reading this or listening to this or watching this. There's a more important step that I often don't talk about. And that step is setting a global goal for each area of the Trinity. So I'll use myself as an example. My global goals for the Trinity are health, compete in an Ironman World Championship event; wealth, have a net worth of over $100 million; relationships, be married until the day I die. So really, if you think about it, the Trinity is all about dreams. It's about setting specific goals to help you achieve your dreams in every important area of your life. And honestly, a global Trinity goal needs to sound sort of ridiculous. Otherwise, it's not going to be good enough. It literally needs to be the type of goal that others scoff at because they don't think they can achieve it. This is what you should be spending all your time obsessing about after a breakup. Not an ex, not what he's up to, not if he loves you even though he blocked you. Doing the Trinity work is actually what creates the spark for him to fall back in love with you. So your challenge is you just have to be willing to put in the time to start climbing toward your global Trinity goals.